Anyway, okay. A number of different things that go, when I play over a blues, I'm thinking all kinds of different crapola. But the first thing, as I want to show you, is this right hand aspect of chicken picking. We'll just get that out of the way right away, and then we'll start talking about some other stuff. I first learned this kind of... I first learned that from Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits. Dire Straits was on the radio, and back when I was first starting to play guitar, I started playing guitar in 1979, and by that time Dire Straits had already come on the scene, as it were, with it. The first time I heard that. Little leprechauns or something, you know what I mean? And then every time he would do a rock and roll pattern, Mark Knopfler, it was never like, you know, it was always, you know. You get the idea. It was always some kind of a chicken activity. So I had to learn how to do it. But back then, they didn't have cool music schools like this. They didn't have YouTube. They didn't have instructional DVDs. We had records and we had beer. You know what I'm talking about? And so we'd sit down with that damn thing and try to, you know, that's just kind of the way it did. You know. It's the kind of way we rolled. So it took me a while to learn how to do this thing, but I realized what it was. And I use it in my blues playing to get a kind of Albert Collins. Or I'll use it for the chicken picking stuff. Any number of different things. I'll use the finger, or like the magic sand. All that kind of stuff. All stemmed from this first thing that I learned from Mark Knopfler. So it's basically, if I use my finger as an example of, I'm going to do this on the A string of the guitar just to show it to you, but if this is the string, I'm putting my first finger underneath the string and I'm putting my thumb on top of the same string, okay? So the thumb plucks a note pretty hard that this first finger is muting, so you just get this big old thud, as it were. And then you lift up that string right afterwards and you pop it back down. So you get the thud and you get the pop. So between those two, the chicken is born. You know what I'm saying? So on a telly, if I go in between the two pickups, on a Strat, kind of the middle pickup is a good visual aid of where you want to do this. But I'm going to put my first finger down on the A string, and I'm going to put my thumb a little bit more over here. And as I pluck with that thumb, you're just going to hear a big old thud, right? And then I lift that string up and pop it. So between the two, I do them in rapid succession. So. There, the chicken is born. the idea. So what I can do to practice that is you could take like a blues scale, like an A blues scale, or since that last tune was in G, I'll do it in G here. If I just take a blues scale, and if I chicken pick every one of those notes, it's just a good exercise because it takes a while to get used to going, to doing things fast with this chicken picking idea. So if I just take a G blues scale, I added a 6 in there, but it's basically the blues scale. And it just gives it a nice little flavor instead of just going. And then what you can do is you can add some open string pull-offs. And you know, I first learned these when I was trying to figure out Albert Lee licks. I got into Albert Lee and then I started figuring out who we all listened to. So between Albert Lee and James Burton and, you know, Clarence White and Roy Buchanan and Don Nichols and whatever, I started realizing that these guys do these licks where they have these open strings. So if I'm in the key of G, this works particularly well. Joe Walsh should do this. So it's actually a Les Paul run. So if you take the idea of the blues scale and the chicken pick and the open string pull-off, you can practice your blues scale by doing a thing where you go. Between that stuff, if I'm doing like a, you know, so that's just the blues scale with some open string pull-off. And then of course you can do the double stops on top of that. Whatever, you just got to mix it all up, make a little soup out of it, and let the good times roll, okay? So a lot of times I'll do that kind of chicken picking stuff. Let me show you how to do the chicken picking with the pick and the first finger, because after a while what I started realizing when I was going back and forth like this between doing my, you know, there was always that split second between when I was using my pick and using my thumb and finger. And in that time that I could have, you know, that it takes me to whip that pick back and forth, I might have thrown in another 3 million notes, you know what I'm saying? So I thought, well, I gotta learn how to do this with the pick already in place. So, and I knew people that were doing this. I mean, I was a big fan of, as I said, you know, guys like Roy Buchanan and Albert Lee, and they always did their picking, chicken picking with the pick and finger together. So on and so forth. So I had to learn how to do it. It's the same basic idea as what I did with the first finger and the thumb going. But now what we're going to do is we're going to use our middle finger. You need a little bit of a nail. You don't need much, but just a little something. I find that even if I break this nail, as long as I have a little bit of white showing above the pink, I got enough to pop the string. A lot of people get, you know, like fake nails and put those on there. whatever. You can do that if you want, but I personally don't find the need for it. So I'm going to use my pick, being held, of course, by my thumb and first finger, and then the middle finger with the nail. So if this is that string that we were using before, I'm going to put that middle finger down, and really it's the nail that's against the string, muting it, and then the pick hits the note that's being muted, and then you use that nail to lift that string up and pop it back down again. I want to take my hat off here because I'm so hot I can't take it. So what we can do is we go like so, like that. And it's a little brighter of a sound. It's not quite as mellow sounding as the thumb and first finger. So here's what it sounds like. I'm going to put that middle finger down on the A string, pick a little bit more towards the neck, and you hear it right off the bat. It sounds brighter. And then we use that middle finger to pop up like so. So if I do the blues scale with this, you hear it's a lot brighter sounding. The two, here's the first one. The difference being that, if I'm doing bluesier stuff, I'm like, I'll use the thumb and the first finger. If I'm doing more of kind of whatever, I'll use the pick and the finger together because then it gets just more like, you know what I mean? It sounds a little bit more rapid fire. And chicks dig it, as far as I know. And so there's some different things that you can do. There's some cool Roy Buchananism. What I like about Roy so much is that Roy did things on a Telecaster with just a chord into the amp that sounded like Hendrix with Marshalls and Univibes and wah-wah pedals and so on and so forth. He just had a cool way of adding some cool things. And he would also add the idea of doing chicken picking stuff into his blues playing that was really cool. And he would do stuff like, and all this kind of crazy stuff. So I'll just take this little double stop thing of it. We're in the key of G, and I'm going to take that major third and the fifth, that little double stop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chicken pick on the G string, and then I'm going to use my third finger on my right hand to hit the B string. So basically a banjo roll, right? You can start getting your fingers used to doing banjo rolls by doing things like pick, second finger, middle finger, and third finger, by just taking any chord down here and just doing like, pick on the E string, middle finger on the A string, D string on with the first, and then go to the next string set. Takes a little while to get that coordination up, but once you do, you can do things like pick right here, pick on the G string, hit that chicken pick, and hit the rest of the triplet with that third finger on the B string. And you can take it and you can go up chromatically with that kind of a thing. Or you can go up and do stuff like in G, kind of Mixolydian. You go down with it as well. This little thing here is something that you can do to try to get your hybrid picking going on. And what it basically is, if I start off in G, up here at the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th fret, and I do this little G triad here, a B string, G string, and D string. You can do a little thing where you can go down 3 major triads, and then 3 minor triads, then 3 major triads, 3 minor triads, and then back home again. So we go, and what I'm doing is 3rd finger on the B string, 2nd finger on the G string, pick on the D string. So if I'm doing some kind of damnation. You can do it the other way too. And then you can do like little hammer-ons. So you hit an open D string, and then hit the triad. Like that. And then you could do another thing where you could take the triad and then do the pull-offs on the G string. Pull-offs on the G string for the major triad. You can actually pull off on the G string and the B string for the minor triad. So on and so forth. Let's do a little like a get the idea. Hey, how are you?